Hi everyone, this is Vignesh Shivakumar from Phoenix Financial Training once again with you to discuss some more points relating to the upcoming ACCA June 2021 exams, which will be held via a remotely proctored mode. You are now able to book your exam between now and the 9th of May 2021. I would urge you to make your exam booking at the earliest after you have done a system check using the device and the internet connection that you'll be using on the exam day to ensure it complies with the technical specifications laid down by the ACCA. By booking the exam, we do two things. One, we ensure that we have a slot, we have a space, and we can continue progressing through the qualification. The second thing, it just puts us in that mental frame of mind where we focus on preparation once we know that we are committed to doing the exam. Doing the exam in remotely proctored mode is definitely different from doing it at a center for a few reasons. One, you are unable to have a scratch pad or a piece of paper in front of you to make annotations. Secondly, you also need to manage the initial check-in process and the procedures that you would otherwise not have to bother about as much when you are walking into a center. So I'd like to just focus on 5 things that I believe are important for you to bear in mind going into these exams. Number one, please make sure you do the system check, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure your system and internet connectivity meets the specification. There is a link to a document below this video that will allow you to access the minimum technical requirements that the ACCA have laid out so that you can prepare your system for this and therefore be able to take your exam. The second thing I would encourage you to do is just to plan ahead of the setup that you will be using for your exam. The ideal setup for your exam involves you either using a laptop or a desktop. If you are using a desktop, you need to have a clear desk, have a separate keyboard, make sure it has no connection issues, a separate mouse, a webcam perched on top of the monitor. You are also allowed to have your calculator, which has to be compliant with the ACCA regulations, and a glass of water or a bottle of water without any labels. So if there are labels, that has to be stripped off before you keep it with you. If you are using a laptop, which may be the more common mode used by many candidates, while you are allowed to have a separate monitor, that would mean that you have to close the screen on the laptop and it might get a bit complicated. So the ideal setup would be one where you're using your laptop with a built-in webcam. You may choose to use an external keyboard, but it's probably better to stick to the keyboard on the laptop, and then you can very well connect an external mouse. The other rules in terms of using a calculator and having a glass or a bottle of water remain the same. There is also an additional link given below this video where you can access the different setups that are allowed by the ACCA. I have just spoken about the most preferred and the most desirable ones, which have generally caused the least problems based on student feedback. The third aspect is to familiarize yourself with the process of checking into the exam to avoid any stress on the day of the exam. You are allowed to check into the exam up to 30 minutes before your scheduled time. When you book your exam, you are given alternative time slots that you can choose from. you can start your check-in process up to 30 minutes before the scheduled time, not before that. So it is always better that you get started a bit early. Keep a photo identity such as the passport or your national ID with you and start the check-in process. There is yet another link below which very clearly lays out the step-by-step process that you will have to go through, which will again involve a system check, which will involve you taking photographs of your workspace, taking a photograph of your ID, and in case required, showing your calculator very clearly to the invigilator. And after completing this process, you are then allowed to launch the or take the exam. So starting early is better. Logging in just before the scheduled time may mean that the invigilators are busy with other candidates trying to log them in. And therefore, if you face the slightest of issue, it creates a lot of panic. You will observe in this document which talks about the check-in process, it's very important that you are using one of the approved browsers as well as not having any other applications open before you launch the exam, as that will cause the exam to freeze. So make sure you open up the task manager, close everything else, and then you launch the exam. Only the two softwares prescribed by the ACCA in this document should be open while you are doing the examination. The fourth aspect that I'd like you all to bear in mind and prepare better for is getting used to the CBE platform. This is important even for center-based exams. But when you are doing remotely proctored exams, the challenge of not having paper to scribble on, etc., makes it a lot more necessary for you to be used to the exam environment and to be practicing questions exactly the way that you will see it in the exam, with the question on screen, you're looking at different windows, and this is something you can do using the ACCA practice platform. You are able to log in using your email ID, ACCA credentials into a CBE practice platform where you have some of the past exam questions there in a computer-based mode, which you can try along with any questions that your training providers may be assigning to you. It is very important that you jump at every opportunity to practice questions in that mode. You may know the knowledge, but then it's also important you are able to execute under the given situation. And general feedback from students has been that the exam environment does need some advanced preparation. It's not something you can instantly get used to if you haven't seen it or worked with it before. And therefore, to allow yourself the time to get used to the exam environment, you need to do two things. One, make sure you're using the practice platform to try out as many questions as possible. Two, make sure you front load your studies and do not leave anything for the last moment, because you have this additional aspect to take care of getting used to the CBE platform. So use your time very wisely between now and your exams and make sure you front load your prep. You do the content and leave yourself that extra buffer time towards the end, just in case something goes wrong, just in case there's an inadvertent delay. So plan your time to prepare the content as well as to practice questions, and still give yourself a little bit of buffer time before the exam for extra revision, extra practice, and so on, and also as a contingency. The fifth and final aspect I would like to talk about, which is probably a very important aspect, is in these tough times of COVID, taking care of yourself. It is very important that come the week of the exams, you are in good health, physically, mentally, well prepared to take the exam. And for that, it's important that you take care of yourself. Stay home, stay safe to the extent possible. If you are stepping out obviously take care of yourself by following the necessary COVID protocols and precautions advised. We are all hopeful that we will all come out of these tough circumstances and COVID will be behind us. But as we go through this, it is very important that you take care of yourself and engage in some activity. It might be exercising at home, it might be breathing exercises, yoga, any other form of engagement that suits you and is convenient to you, to ensure that your learning efficiency is improved. We often underestimate the importance of mental well being and how that has an impact on our learning speed and efficiency and our performance in the exam. So find what is suitable for you and indulge in that alongside your studies so that you keep your keep yourself perfectly fit going into the exam. And if you feel down or a little bit low on energy, low on enthusiasm, facing a problem while studying, engage with your tutor, speak to your friends, and I'm sure your tutors, your friends will be able to help you in some way. And sometimes that interaction helps you restore your confidence and energy. These are tough times, but we are all confident that we will come out of this, and at the same time be very proud that we've made progress through these remotely proctored exams and not let the circumstance stall your career progress. So I wish you all the very best. My team and I are available for any questions and queries you may have, and if we can support you in any way going into the remotely proctored exams, we'd be more than happy to engage and help. Good luck.